right. Good morning, folks. Today is March 29th, Tuesday. Welcome to First Things First, Simply Cyber's daily morning cybersecurity threat briefing. I'm your host, Gerald Auger. And in the next 30 minutes, you're going to be delivered the top cybersecurity news of the day, and I will provide expert analysis on each of these stories, on what it means to you as a practitioner, or if you're an individual looking to break into the industry. Both of you, those types, can definitely get value out of this stream. Shout out and thanks to the stream sponsor, Barricade Cyber Solutions, your partner for incident response, ransomware protection, and business recovery. Eric Taylor and his group, we do a lot together on Simply Cyber, but his business itself is basically helping people who are dealing with right of boom. If you are live, I see the chat coming in, love it. Thanks for being here. Obviously, you guys make it special, and that's why I love doing it. If you're watching on replay, looking at you West Coast, thanks for catching the stream. I know it can't always be easy to get on while it's live, but I appreciate the replay. If you want to jump right to the news, right? Maybe you don't want to do the jacking around here at the beginning. Scrub right to the timer in the corner. When it gets to 0, we're going to start the news. But for the next 1 minute and 27 seconds, I'm going to be welcoming the folks into the stream. I saw Michelle in there. I saw Kimberly, Ryan. Good to see you. Usha, 412, I see you. CFCV. Hey, Jenny Housley. Nice to see you. Michael Taylor. Yep, every weekday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m., Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And guys, I finished teaching at university on April 26th. So from April 26th until whatever the fall semester starts up, I will be doing 8 a.m. Eastern every single day. I need to do first things first, because for me, it's how I get jacked up for the day, get prepared to be able to deliver on my commitments as a practitioner in the field. And, obviously starting my day with you guys is wonderful. God's Will from Ghana. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Comfort. Good to see you. Bernice. Very nice. Allie, good to see you. Yes, Michelle. What's up to your son? Welcome to the Cyberfold, son. Anna Lynn, squad member. Good to see you guys. Hey, Bobby Applegate. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I really do. Had a rough night last night with the little one, but he's feeling better. But sleep was something not in spades. Hey, Nathan, good to see you. Cracking me up. Always nice. Chip, hello. All right, guys. Looks like we've got to our 000. So we're going to get started with our streams for the day. If you guys are not familiar, then let me enlighten you. We go to cisoseries.com in order to ride the wave that David Sparks and his crew over there cast every single morning with the podcast. We're going to use it to facilitate first things first. So if you want, go to cisoseries.com, consume this on your own. But if you would prefer to do it with a group and have me and my silky tones lay the track for this podcast, then sit back, relax, and let's dig into the stories.
From the CISO series, it's cybersecurity headlines.
It's Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. Ukraine ISP taken down by cyber attack. The attack was described as the most severe since Russia's invasion of the country, disrupting service of the country's largest fixed-line operator, ISP Uktelecom, across the country. Its estimated service is operating at 13% of pre-war levels. At this time, it's unclear if this is the result of a coordinated DDoS attack or a more sophisticated intrusion. Ukraine's computer emergency response team reported last week that telecoms and other tech companies have been hit with 4 cyber attack campaigns since the start of the invasion, though these mostly focused on information gathering.
Yeah, that graph right there is definitely not one you want to see if you're managing the network. Okay, so Ukraine's main ISP, main delivery of internet connection is gone down, okay? It's unknown what it is, but guys, there's a lot going on over there. I'm not surprised, whether it could be just general infrastructure getting hit by a renegade military strike. It could be a coordinated intentional effort. Remember, Ukraine requested Elon Musk send Starlink, so they were already in my opinion, already thinking of redundancy, business continuity, these type of things. So this is just an interesting note on how the situation over there is progressing. Obviously, internet access is wildly important, people. Like in our modern age, we depend on internet access for so many things, including receiving first things first, right? So how information is disseminated, how you coordinate with your, not just for the general public population, but the actual military operations. How are you coordinating that? Again, the Starlink stuff. So, from a practitioner perspective, this does lend itself to have you think about business continuity. There are some NIST controls around having not just an alternative processing center for your ability to maintain operations if a disaster happens to your main production facility, but also alternative telecommunications. So if you have a site that is wildly important, like your main data center or your main breadwinner, the site that's making you money for your business, you may want to consider having, your main AT&T feed, but also, like, just to make up companies, your main AT&T feed, but also have already in place a link with Verizon or Comcast, right? Maybe you're paying a little bit less per month because it's not active. There's no data traversing it, but in the instance you need it, you can turn it on hot and have limited downtime. This is a serious consideration because, guys, if your main AT&T goes down for whatever reason, for example, you don't want that to be the time that you're calling Comcast or Verizon to talk about, hey, we need internet. You're going to be down for a length of time. And that length of time is going to cost an amount of money. And is that amount of money more or less to pay for that warm internet drop from your backup provider for a year or whatever? That's the calculus you have to do when you're doing risk analysis. Okay.
Windows can now block drivers. Windows users can now prevent the installation or operation of drivers with known vulnerabilities through Windows Defender application control. This is part of a new core isolation security feature set designed for devices with virtualization-based security. The feature is available on Windows 10, 11, and Windows Server 2016 and above. Microsoft will maintain a vulnerable driver block list, working with independent hardware vendors and OEMs to make sure it's up to date. Security researchers can also submit drivers for analysis to Microsoft. Because this feature will potentially cause legitimate programs to not work, Microsoft recommends validating the block driver policy in audit mode before implementing.
Okay, so this is one of those instances where, having gray in my hair, being long in the tooth is going to yield some benefits. Okay, so check this out. This is a great idea, right? Microsoft is putting a capability for you to disable or block vulnerable drivers. Now, drivers, they basically allow software to work with different software, right? So, very basic, right? A printer works on your machine. These drivers are software. They can be vulnerable, and sometimes people don't know how to patch them or whatever, and this can be blocked. Here's the thing. We've seen this in the past. Microsoft has a tool or a solution called Emmet, E-M-E-T, which actually blocks or whitelist approves applications. While it works wildly well, it doesn't really get used because it's so disruptive to operations, and you've got to validate that this works and that doesn't work and block it. And what ends up happening is people just turn it off, or they whitelist everything so it's on, but it's not doing anything. And I believe that this is going to be the same situation. So this is a great idea, but in practice, we're going to find that drivers are getting blocked, and then it's breaking something, and the business is going to call and say, hey, this doesn't work. What the heck? And IT is going to try to solve for it, but they're either going to be overwhelmed by the amount of requests coming in to fix it, or they're not going to be able to patch the driver, and they're going to have to decide, do we let the driver go vulnerable and allow the business to operate? Yes or no? And the answer is going to be yes. So what's going to end up happening, prediction, is this will go and then this will be turned off. This will be an available feature that gets disabled wildly and roundly, unless there's some unbelievable 0 day out there that's wildly being exploited and it's related to a driver. And then people will probably turn it on and then whitelist everything except that one driver if that feature is available in this service. So, in conclusion, this is one of those situations where great idea, looks great on paper, everybody's high-fiving themselves about what we've done, and then when you put it in the hands of the operators, they disable it.
Deepfakes take a turn for the banal. An investigation by the Stanford Internet Observatory discovered thousands of faked LinkedIn profiles using AI-generated imagery. The investigation started almost by accident. Researcher Renee DeResta received the dreaded LinkedIn cold call message that quickly turned into a software pitch for RingCentral. Renee noticed that the profile picture just looks slightly off, with one earring, bits of hair disappearing, and eyes too perfectly aligned to the center of the image. This led to an investigation that found a trove of AI-generated profiles. As part of this investigation, NPR found that if someone replies to one of these messages, they're then put in contact with a real person. 70 businesses were listed as employers on these profiles, with several saying they hired outside marketers to help with sales, but hadn't authorized computer-generated images. After being alerted by the researchers, LinkedIn said it investigated and removed accounts that broke its policies on fake profiles.
Yeah, so this is interesting, okay, guys? Like, if you've been following me for a little while, you know that I am like, I have like a not a dirty secret, but like, like when you're into like a show that's like total trash and it's like a dirty pleasure or whatever, or a dark pleasure. I forget what the term is, but I'm sure Chad will let me know. Deep fakes is definitely a technology that I am like wicked into. I haven't done anything with it, but like it's so interesting. It's so fascinating. It covers both a technical and societal thing. So anytime it comes up, I'm all on board with it, right? LinkedIn, this is not illegal. Think about this this idea, okay, for a second. You sign up as an affiliate to RingCentral, right? So everybody you generate an account for RingCentral, or you see NordVPN or SlideShare, right, on YouTube, right? So if you could create a fake profile and have AI basically reach out and start soliciting potential customers, and only the real valid hits reach out to you, and then you take them to conversion, then you get a little taste of your affiliate money. That's not a bad way to make some extra cash. And you automate a lot of the legwork of identifying leads. So it's not illegal. Obviously, it can be abused, right? Where you start using it for like catfishing exercises or romance scams. We see quite a bit of that. If you Google romance scams, you'll see that. So very interesting. One crazy thing, because guys, I go deep on all this deep fake. One thing that I saw yesterday, I'm going to see if I can pull this up really quick here. Synthesia, is that what it is? .io. Look at this. Okay, so check this out. This is totally off topic, but it's totally related. Okay, this company right here, if Synthesia.io, I'm not affiliated, whatever, you can pass them a script and they will take the script and have an AI generated human read the script. You can make this woman right here or any of these people literally say whatever you want. So you could take it from a you could take it from a LinkedIn profile photo. By the way, you could just still image her and that could be her profile. But you could have this woman FaceTime call you or Zoom call you and take it to the next level and sell something. I actually saw an interesting one where they fed AI generated conversation between two AIs, her and another guy, and had them talk. Actually, this guy, Jack, right here. Fascinating stuff, guys. This is where we're going with AI and automation. So if this doesn't scare you, you have a more optimistic outlook of the world than I do. This is scary as crap to me. Anyways, I'm actually thinking about doing a fun little project with this just to kind of explore this technology and maybe use it to emphasize something to folks. But anyways, long story short, little digression, but thanks for allowing me that.
Biden's budget calls for increases in cyber spend. The White House's 2023 fiscal budget proposal calls for an 11% increase in spending on cybersecurity, up to $10.9 billion for civilian agencies. The Defense Department would get an additional $11.2 billion for cyber operations. Of this, CISA would receive 96% of the funds earmarked for Homeland Security, with $2.5 billion. The budget would also expand DoD's Cyber Command's Cyber Mission Force with 5 more teams, bringing totals up to 142. The budget also calls for $682 million in cybersecurity aid to Ukraine from the State Department.
Yeah.
And now a word from our
sponsor. This isn't surprising, right? Like, guys, all right. Biden looks really happy about that decision he just made, too. Look at that smile. Wow. So here's the thing. Cybersecurity is definitely the new domain, right? The space domain, it's cyberspace, right? Infrastructure, we're all on one internet. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. The fact that we're getting serious at the US federal level on funding cybersecurity initiatives, giving more authority, more reach for those organizations. They said that they're going to take, I think it was DOD, and expand their purview of cybersecurity. They're going to take DHS or CISA and add 5 more teams, up to like 140 teams. I don't even know what all those teams are doing. It would be fascinating to see what those teams' mission objectives are. But long story short, there is big money going into sponsoring initiatives to help the United States secure their stuff. Dude, look at, we're talking about Shields Up with CISA. They've been talking about this for weeks. Advanced indication of attack from Russia, frankly. But we've been talking for a while. The whole reason CISA exists is to make the public-private sector more informed on cybersecurity, to give access to a 24-hour report line of a problem, right? Look at this statement on Biden. This is from March 21st, so a week ago. Statement by President Biden on our nation's cybersecurity. This is front and center. This is like hot take central, right? Like, we are getting heavy investments, heavy initiatives, fast movement. We see CISA doing all sorts of great stuff. The exploited vulnerabilities with that binding Operation 22, I think it is, that we talked about yesterday. This isn't going away. This is momentum. This is inertia. We are moving quicker and faster into federal oversight, federal funding, federal support, U.S. federal, for managing cybersecurity, frankly, at the federal, state, and local level. So good to see it.
Commissioner's office saw ransomware reports increase from 326 in 2020 to 654 in 2021. Finance, insurance and credit, and education and childcare were the industries most frequently hit with attacks. The firm warned that this comes as many organizations will increasingly come into a gap in insurance protection from ransomware, as non-specialized insurance increasingly doesn't cover ransomware at all, while specialist companies have reduced coverage and tightened policy requirements.
Yep. Okay, a couple things here to point out. First of all, you want to know what a seasoned cybersecurity cynic looks like? Right here, this guy. Only when I read this, I was like, oh, it only went up by 100%. Like, SOAR doesn't really coincide with the value by 100%, right? Like, we're seeing ransomware go up 400, 500, 600%. So 100% means we're actually doing well. Good job, all of us. Like, okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, guys, bookmark this article if you work in healthcare, manufacturing, or finance, which, by the way, finance is the most obvious one. They get the most funding because ransomware is targeting it, right? The most frequently impacted, not the most frequently targeted, the most frequently impacted, which means financial or, downtime or all these things. This kind of really stinks. Education and childcare. Like, can we have non-combatants, please? But the other thing that's worth noting, and again, this is one of those ones where, like, if you don't work in the industry yet, or you're not a mid to senior level person, so you wouldn't get exposed to this necessarily. Cyber insurance is a whole thing. Okay. Like, we use cyber insurance to offset risk. It's called transferring risk. It's one of the things we can do with risk. Cyber insurance companies are losing their shirt on paying out ransomware policies. So what's happening is twofold. One, like, ransomware is being written out as a condition of exercising your policy in general policies, right? So you just get general business policy. They have some language around cyber incidents, and then they'll say not including ransomware. Or you get a specific cybersecurity policy for your organization, which is really common, and they will have call outs specifically for ransomware and specifically for business email compromise. Those two type of incidents get explicitly spelled out, and there's explicit terms around how the policy works with those. Everything else is like general malware, general issues, general whatever. Here's what you don't know. Cyber insurance policies have gone up 2x, 4x, 8x. So a policy that costs, like, let's say $20,000 in 2020 to get $1 million coverage, that same policy is like $100,000 now, and you only get $300,000 coverage, right? So your policy goes up and your coverage goes down. And in some instances, they'll say, we don't cover ransomware altogether. Like, we're just not in that game anymore. Because you got to remember, guys, insurance companies, as much as we don't like them because they take our money and we don't get any value in return normally, they are a business. And if they're paying out more than they are making, they are going to go out of business. And that is what's happening with ransomware. Everybody's getting hit right now. So they are increasing the amount of money it costs to get the policy, and they're reducing the amount of they pay out, literally, so the insurance company can reconcile their business model. So anyways, we're seeing a lot of companies that are refusing to take clients because your security posture sucks, which is why sign up for the GRC course, because you can find out how to build a program on how to actually implement cybersecurity in a way that insurance companies, they really like, and they'll get in line for you.
Remember back in the heady days of early 2021 when we reported that coordinated efforts by Interpol, Eurojust, and Microsoft took down the Emoted botnet? Well, researchers at Cisco report that Emoted rose from the ashes in November 2021 and has been increasing activity in early 2022. While the resurgence of Emoted activity happened at almost the same time as the Log4j vulnerability was discovered, there's no evidence they're related, although both use Cobalt Strike in common. Cisco recommends blocking emails with suspicious attachments, restricting the use of PowerShell and remote tools, and using 2FA as mitigations for more Emoted activity.
Okay, so, Emoted is like a wart. Like, you can kind of take care of it, but if you don't get the root of it, it's going to come back. Listen, there was a major coordinated effort. Emoted is no joke, right? Emoted is very effective. And it's a piece of malware. It's a banking Trojan. But what we really see, and Eric Taylor, if you're in here, if anyone else is an incident responder in chat, what we normally see Emoted do is what it does, but it's initial infection. Then Emoted will pull down other stages of payloads. Like we saw it very wildly with Emoted, TrickBot, and then Ryuk ransomware. It doesn't have to operate that way, but we saw that operate. So Emoted is kind of like punching a hole in the side of the boat, ripping open the hull, and then being like, "Come on, malware, let's go!" Like running the lifeboats from the malware pirate ship into the side of the hull of your pristine cruise ship. That's what Emoted does. And while it's there, it gets a little taste for itself with banking Trojans, stealing credentials, and all that stuff. Be on the lookout. Interpol, Europol took out Emoted's organization a while ago. But guys, the source code didn't die, right? The source code's there. Threat actors are involved. They may have ripped the head off the snake, but like a starfish, it may grow another head. It may grow a smaller head. Someone may have got out of jail and now they need money because they're paying for lawyers and crap. So Emoted's back. Be on the lookout. Look for indicators of compromise. Make sure your tooling is configured for Emoted. Educate your end users, because as you can see, normal Emoted attack flow, it says email with attached file here in the graphic. But I mean, personally, yes, it comes through Office macro documents. Click on this. But a lot of times we're also seeing it with a hyperlink that goes to like a Google Drive, or a hyperlink that goes to a Dropbox, or a hyperlink that goes to some malicious controlled website. And then you trick the user to pull it down, because attachments, email servers are pretty smart nowadays. They will strip those things, or they'll detonate them in a sandbox and then look at the behavior and then rip it off. So we see it in a couple different ways. Long story short, I don't want anyone on this call getting hit with Emoted. So make sure you educate your end users. Make sure you configure your firewall, frankly, or have it updated so it's looking for malicious infrastructure. And I know you can do this. It's optional now, I think, but like, disable macros for your end users. Make them call and complain about needing to run macros, and have them, I mean, if you want to go as far as having them send you the file and look at it, but you don't need macros, okay? There's way more risk of getting popped by macros than there is of like Carl's cool accounting function spreadsheet running, okay?
Lapsus shows that not all MFA is created equal. One of the table stakes recommendations for shoring up security usually involves implementing multi-factor authentication. We just talked about in the last story. But recent cyber attacks by both Lapsus and APTs like Nobelium show that older forms of MFA offer substantially weaker security protections. Both use a technique known as MFA prompt bombing to get around these protections, effectively spamming an end user's legitimate device with push notification authentication prompts until the user accepted the authentication and gave the attackers access. Researchers note this isn't new or a novel approach, just an effective one. Using FIDO2 compliant MFA, while not impervious to the approach, would prevent one device from giving access to a different one.
Right. So, guys, MFA is not a silver bullet. Okay, as we talked about with the Okta breach. Listen, it is very important. It's very important. You should absolutely have it. There are ways to attack it, right? There's really cool technical ways, but then there's old-fashioned ham-fisting ways. I will give you a true story from my experience. I worked in an environment once where the MFA was a phone call. If you tried to log in, you'd get a phone call. The phone call would say, someone's trying to log into your account. Is this you? Press 1 for yes. Press pound for no. Now, you can configure the policy a bunch of different ways. Let me pause it to you. If you press pound, that means no, that's not you. That means that somebody has got your username and password. As an organization, do you want to disable that user's account? Because it's clear in most instances that their account has been compromised, right? Their password's been compromised. So disable the account. We've identified a threat actor. Okay, that's an idea. Well, what happens if it's a user who's not tech savvy or they make a mistake? They pick up the phone and they mishear it and they press pound, and now they've locked themselves out of their account and they're clearly trying to log in. You get angry users calling. What if it's the CEO of the company? Now you've got an angry executive. Well, what's the easy way to do it? Well, the easy way is, well, why don't we make the pound not allow access, but not disable the account? No problem. And that's the decision that was made at this organization. Now let's play it forward. Phone call rings at 1 a.m. Hi, this is you trying to log in. Is this you? Pound, no, hang up. Ring. Is this you? No, pound, hang up. Ring. Is this you? No, pound, hang up. Is this you? No, pound, hang up. Is this you? 1. Get in. I'm trying to go to sleep. I don't care. Stop ringing. The idea is that the end user now sees the pressing the 1 to accept, not as allowing a bad guy into your environment, but literally to make the phone stop ringing. This is a misaligned incentive, and that MFA strategy sucked. And we got rid of it for that reason. But my point is, there are ways to attack the human, even to get around MFA, that isn't tricking them into making them think that you are, in fact, the organization, right? Humans do human things, guys.
Google ordered Russian translators not to use the term war. According to emails obtained by The Intercept, Google informed contractors working to translate for the Russian market not to refer to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine as a war, but as extraordinary circumstances. This applies to translations of corporate text and app interfaces. The move was meant to keep Google in line with the recently enacted Russian censorship law. A Google spokesperson said this policy does not apply to information services like search and YouTube, and that we remain focused on the safety of our local employees. As has been widely reported, current laws restrict communications within Russia.
Yep.
If you're
okay, so there's a law, right? They basically passed a law the other day. It's like punishable by 17 years in jail, I think. But if you refer to the current situation in Ukraine, in Russia, if you're in Russia and you refer to it as a war or a conflict, there's certain keywords that you are not allowed to say. If you say them, it is a crime and you will be thrown in jail. I want to say it's either 7 or 17 years. Either way, it's way more than you would expect for saying the word war or printing the word war or whatever. So you might initially say like, oh, Google, shame on you for aligning with that. But you got to remember, the people who are doing this translation are in Russia. So if Google's telling them to translate it verbatim, even though they're just doing their job, they're literally committing a crime. So the way I see this is Google is trying to protect the staff, if you will, that are doing these translations that are in Russia to align with the law of that country. Just like you would want them to align with whether or not you agree with that law. Like you want citizens of a country to follow the laws of that country, right? And Google's a multinational company, so it needs to be aware of all these laws. And that's all that's going on here. They have an anti-war stance, obviously, but they're trying to recognize and respect the laws of the country and, frankly, protect the citizens that work for them to follow the law, right? So that's all that's happening here. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed today's First Things First. Michelle, I hope your son's still with us. He didn't check out on the lapses stuff. He's like, this is not for me. Guys, real quick, thanks for sticking with me. Wanted to tease a couple things. One, Thursday, First Things First Live. Geez, Jerry. Simply Cyber Live. I got too many shows. Simply Cyber Live. We're having Dr. Stroshine on. If you guys are into assembly, if you're into reverse engineering, if you want to know what malware analysis looks like, I'm bringing Josh Stroshine. This guy's brain is huge. Okay. He is a professor at Dakota State University in the cyber operations program. He has a PhD in cyber operations. Same one I have. Like, cha-ching, go Trojans. Listen, he knows malware inside and out. He gives courses in it. He teaches at Black Hat. This dude is awesome. And he's a really great guy too. So he's going to come on. We're going to talk about malware analysis, reverse engineering kind of as a profession, what skills might work. Is IDA or Ghidra better? How do you cut your teeth on this? And then I've asked him, pull a piece of malware, something fun. Let's tear it apart live, have you talk through it. I'll be facilitating. Again, this guy does his own content. He's a really nice person. He's a close friend of mine too. So we'll be bringing him on, answering all your questions. So if you're into it, you do not want to miss the live session because you're going to get access to this guy. The other thing that I really want to share, this is in April. It's going to be a few weeks from now. But guys, if you broke into the industry, if you work in cybersecurity and it's been the last 12 months, reach out to me on LinkedIn or DM me on Discord. I've already got about 20 people, but I've got this really fun idea. Stacy Loki, you might know her. She works at Expel. She's a member of the Simply Cyber community. Fantastic woman. Myself, we are going to be co-hosting a live stream broadcast, Simply Cyber, but it's going to be like a radio call-in show. I've had this idea for like a year and I wanted to do it. Here's the deal. You trying to break into cybersecurity, you want to get in the industry, you're being told a million different things. Network, start a blog, post on LinkedIn, network. What works, what doesn't work? What skills should you be going after? We're going to get as many people as we can jam in an hour to come on. Listen, they have converted from not working in cybersecurity to working in cybersecurity. We're talking career pivots, military transition, college graduates, IT in. We're going to ask them 2 to 3 minutes per person. What worked? What didn't work? What was your one piece of information? What's a pitfall that you wish you hadn't spent time on? Thanks. Next caller. Same questions. Thanks. Next caller. Same questions. We are going to be driving so much ridiculous real world value of people that have done it. They've walked the walk and it's still fresh in their mind because they literally just did it. That is what we're doing on April 14th. And I am wicked excited about this particular live stream. I love all my live streams, but this one, it's going to be special, and I'm really grateful that Stacy agreed to help me with that. So definitely look forward to that. Guys, this has been your morning First Things First. It was a hot take coming out of the gates. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found value in it, hit the like. That always helps, I think. I don't know what our replay numbers are, but more importantly, if you get value, share it with someone. Expand. Let's not hoard this awesome thing that we do every day. Let's share it with any practitioners that we think would find value in it. All right, guys. I appreciate all of you. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Wednesday, March 30th, 8 a.m. Be good for now. We'll talk. See ya.